Testing. Ooh, that looks better. Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate that. Okay, take two. Are we back? It looks. I see my levels. It looks like I'm back. So let me know if you still can't hear me. Ah, perfect. Thank you for telling me that. All right, let's try this again. Hey, everybody. It's good to be back. I haven't streamed a little bit, and I don't know if you can tell, but I now have glasses, so we'll see how they look on stream. I think it's going to be, excuse me, a little. That's the new thing. I'm trying to figure it out. And as I did, I realized this particular monitor and the screen that I'm on is actually really like. These fonts are really aliased, but I couldn't see it before. And now the desktop's not showing up. Fantastic. Seriously? There. Now the desktop's showing up. Okay. Perfect. That's what I get when I've not been streaming for a little while. Everything like bit rots and decays. So cool. Well, this is going to be the demo of Binary Ninja 3.1, which we just launched this last week. I was originally going to do this the previous week because we first thought we were going to launch then, but we had a few delays as we did our testing. That's the point. The whole point of the stable is that we do extra testing to make sure everything's good. And so we want to make sure we got it all out. And this machine is my poor VM. What's going on? What's going on here? I don't know why it's it should be fine. Just no pitch top. Oh, there we go. We got a burger. Did you bring me a burger?
I did not.
No worries. Glenn's making his daily burger run here. So let's see. Something is using up all my resources because this VM is. Oh, never mind. It loaded. It just took a second. Okay, so all right, let's try this again. Here is our blog where you can read the welcome, Ryan. So this was the performance release. If you've not already seen it, the blog post covers a lot of what we're going to do. We're just going to be kind of covering each of these features and talking about them a little bit more on stream. And if y'all have questions as well, feel free to ask those, talk about kind of what's coming and new things. You may have noticed that we did split the what was originally going to be the Windows release became the performance release. So if you actually go to the repo and hit upper milestones, you'll see this was the Windows release originally. It became the performance release where we focused on some of that. Oh, this is actually, you know what? This is interesting. I haven't looked at our total number of issues closed in a while. This is the second most issues we've ever closed. Huh. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so 3.0, which doesn't surprise me because, right, that was obviously a huge major release with a lot of new stuff. But can you sort by most? Yeah, you can. Look at that. There we go. So you can see the 3.1 release is well up there in terms of total stuff that we did into it. But we split it up because, again, we ran into so many things that we were working on to improve, and we decided to focus on those. And so Windows is kind of here. Some of the stuff landed is really, really good and will help Windows binaries analysis, but some of it is sort of pending. All right, and we'll get that with what's now 3.2. So actually, if we go back to our milestones, and you'll see we've got 53 open issues here. That's not the final count of the Windows issues. We're going to go through and do kind of a scrub and make sure we get all of the stuff here. But this week, actually, Peter and Kyle are up at Recon, and I'm about to go on vacation next week. So we've got a couple of kind of schedules we're juggling. But we always do like a kind of scrub of like what's the roadmap look like? What are all the things that we want to do? So we'll go over that in closer detail. But you'll see here there's a bunch of some PE things, some PDB things, so some things like exception handling that Windows binaries will benefit from. And then you notice there's a lot of this that is going to be about like importing and about kind of better compatibility between tools. So for example, IDB import was one that almost made this 3.1 stable, but just didn't quite. But that's coming really soon. In fact, actually, it might literally land on dev during the stream. I know that was being worked on just beforehand. So we'll see if that should land shortly. And then there's also, I think, one for like getter import. Just the idea of we want to make the workflow really, really simple if you were using another tool and you switch to Binjo, we want to make that a smooth process. So, all right, but let's see, back here, I was updating the stable and I forgot that I'm so used to like the update speed because the latest devs for quite some time have had the new update code. I forgot how slow it used to be to update. So I kicked off an update from the old stable to this stable, and it's like, oh, it's gonna take like 5 minutes, and the new ones are just so fast. So this is it. We've got Ninja 3.1. You'll see off the bat, it's not a huge amount visually. The biggest one is probably the way the logging works. And obviously I've got the debugger enabled here, so I've got a few extra things on that side. But the log window and being able to actually like kind of organize your logs, filter them, and you can actually set now. One of the nice tricks about this, I don't remember if I've shown the log window changes off before on stream yet. But the log window, if I actually do like a do a log message in one window, and then I open up a different binary, you can choose to have these isolated, right? So by default now, if I do some log info in one context, it won't show up in another. So if you want to run a plugin, it will separate your log messages, as opposed to before it was just one massive log, and you could, if you switch back and forth, we're doing things in multiple binaries, you would get intermixed logs. And so now it doesn't do that by default. You still can. You can actually change scope. There we go. You can change the scope and you can see all this stuff. But right now it only does things that are either global messages or things for the current tab. Right. And so this it's kind of a nice welcome, Valgrind. Good to see you back. It's yeah, it's a little bit nicer, right? To be able to just kind of clean up those log messages. So this is kind of like a nice quality of life around logging. And if you've got a plugin, you can now scope it, so you can see all the scope of these logs. I could just see the logs related to PE view, for example. And if your plugin does this, you'll notice this the period. Actually, I learned this from Peter just this week during the training and recon. Obviously, he's up in Canada giving it, but I was remotely watching it on stream, and I didn't even realize. But if you create a logger, you make a new logger that you use for these logs, which is kind of done transparency, right? Like if you just log info, like the old style of logging, you don't have to specify any of that information. But I could create like my log is equal to, I think it's logger, yeah, and I could just pass a string of my plugin or whatever I want to call it. I should probably look at the help docs, shouldn't I? Couldn't remember that off the top of my head. So logger is, give me the helps, please. There's no help? What? Oh, you know what? Actually, I do remember this. I was bugging Peter about it, that the logger, I think, lacks, it should at least give me the session ID, which is an integer, and a log name. Or is there a different way to make a new one? Let's see. Let's search for name. I don't remember if we have to give it a number. Yeah, it looks like we do. So I can make a new logger. Do I just give it a... Does the number matter? That doesn't seem right. So I've got this log instance. And I should actually have my plugin. But except I think I'd set that ID weird. I don't, oh, session ID. Oh, the session ID is like the tab or the window, I think. Hold on, let me try this again. Let's try 0. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So I don't fully grok the session ID. I think we need a little better documentation around that. But the idea is you can split these up. But the nifty thing was you can create another logger. So my plugin dot other feature, right? Make that by log 2. And so we can have, because I'm in my plugin, I'm going to get both my plugin and other feature, but I can also then sub-select just other feature. So the filtering is hierarchical. You can actually, you have a little structure there. So if you have a lot of log messages, you can kind of split them up. You can put a bit of features, and then this view lets you switch between all of that. So that was a trick that was new to me that I hadn't seen before. So you'll notice I have the debugger enabled, I guess, so my settings had that turned on. This is not enabled by default. So right now we still haven't decided to enable the debugger plugin. It just didn't have enough time to kind of get some fixes and some improvements, and there's still some UI stuff we want to do with it. So it's there, it's shipped. We want people to try it out and give us feedback, but we kind of hid it behind the beta label and have this checkbox on it. So you can just enable it, and then you'll get all the extra debugger elements that I've got here. And I think I actually did that on last stream. I actually played with the debugger a little bit, but it continues to get work done on it, and it is also on the GitHub repo. So you can track things, you can file bugs, and now that it's available and you can test it much more easily, definitely come through and file issues. You see there's already actually a fair amount of stuff we've been tracking internally. Most of these are our bugs internally as we tested and wanted features and added things. But we're open for business, so y'all are welcome to contribute. And of course, the whole plugin itself is open source, so this plugin is Apache 2. Hi. Plugin. I was talking about debugger in that particular case, but I did tell people that maybe IDB is coming soon. Maybe. No promises. So, all right. So let's actually go back to look at the list. So our blog kind of had the release. So I've skipped over like the headline feature though. Like the biggest new feature is the performance. And I'm curious in chat, like how many people have had a chance to kind of read the blog or have seen these stats. I figure you all follow us on Twitter, or maybe you just have the notifications turned on, which thank you if you do. But the we did tweet out these, and we actually had an earlier blog where we showed some intermediate results. So these performance improvements came in a couple of waves, and I mean it's pretty dramatic. My favorite tweet actually came in just yesterday. I think I just replied to it, so you can see the it basically just says Binja is unreasonably fast, and I said I'm sorry for ruining your coffee breaks. The joke being like it's sort of like the XKCD. Where it's compiling and they're sword fighting on their chairs, like, same thing with like letting your reverse engineering tool create your analysis database. Like, oh, analyzing, like we're off, oh, that's fine, carry on. Sorry that we've ruined that excuse and now you have to like almost immediately work. So it is significantly faster. It's definitely noticeable that the performance increases. It's happening. The office is way busier and I love it. So every now and then I'm looking over and seeing people walk by. We've got interns here this summer. We'll have to get them on stream. Maybe they'll come out later and come and say hi. We've got some interns you may recognize from last year. We've got a new intern. Actually, we have 2 new interns, although only one is in Florida this year. So we'll see. We'll see who ends up wanting to be on stream going forward. But we got a whole crew in the office, and it's a lot of fun. So all right. So performance, yeah. So these numbers. The improvement, so Rusty spent a lot of several months working on the performance numbers. And so he basically was just going through anytime he could find some kind of like low-hanging fruit, find a way to improve, specifically focused on analysis speed, save and load time, and, well, those are related, right? Analysis speed will improve save and load time. But also there were some improvements that were just specific to save and loads of databases. And then, of course, memory usage as well. So all of those saw improvements, some of them dramatic. I mean, some really, really nice improvements. Yeah, I'm glad to hear it, Valgrind. This is true, exactly. You can always just take a coffee break anytime. You didn't really need to have a tool as an excuse, and it's good to take breaks anyways, right? You should get one of those apps on your computer that just makes you take a break and rest your eyes and look somewhere else. That's part of why I need glasses now, is because I don't do that. I stare at the screen all day, and I needed to have rest of my eyes. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that y'all felt it was noticeable as well. But I think these are pretty big. And now it's especially noticeable too if you had a non-commercial license, because we added multi-threading into non-commercial. So if who is the new host? Yeah, you don't recognize me with my name is Clark Kent, and I'm Cyphertext. So Welcome, Fox. Good to see you. So we've got non-commercial has now got multi-threading, and part of that was we've been thinking about this for a while. A lot of people have been kind of asking about it. We've debated it for years, and on the one hand, we want to have something that differentiates commercial from non-commercial, because I'm sure there's just a bunch of companies that are going to ignore the terms and just buy the other one, even though it's not really intended. But at the same time, like you don't want to penalize your hobbyists and stuff. And so we were really on the fence for it. But what tipped us over was a lot of these performance improvements took place by making them take advantage of multi-threading. So for example, this initial analysis time here, some of these performance things wouldn't have gotten any faster. You wouldn't have seen these performance boost in non-commercial, and we were like, oh no, that's super lame. So that was an extra reason to go ahead and also add support for multi-threading and personal. And I did have to at least put a little like, hey, by the way, commercial still has headless, which probably won't be coming anytime soon. That one will most likely remain a commercial only feature, but we'll see. We're also working on several new features, which we're debating. Are they add-ons? Are they in enterprise? Are they in commercial? Are they? And so maybe we'll get something else and then make headless be in personal. But I'm super happy because this is now the second feature over the last 6 years that since we launched personal, where we said like, oh, we're going to be adding new things, and sure enough, we did. We added analysis caching 2 years ago, or 1 or 2 years ago, and we've added multi-threading now. So we do continue to add things to it. This is a big one, and this actually in the stable build that we released is not on by default. We kind of hedged our bets a little bit because we were having some problems in the last couple of weeks, and we didn't want it to be a bumpy road for people. So, yep, Roberts. Yeah, so you're gonna get multi-threading on personal. You should already notice it if you're on unstable. Definitely will improve your analysis times. Or stable or latest dev, they're both going to have it. But so there's a new setting called type parser, and you can change over to the Clang type parser. I think I showed this previously, but it was on a previous. I don't remember what plugin this is. The type inspector plugin. I totally forgot about this plugin. It's been a while since I used the Stream Machine. Sorry, easily distracted. And so. Yeah, like I said, I think I showed this earlier where, oh no, that's right. That was a part of, this type inspector was part of, part of the last time I demoed Clang, I think. Actually, you joke about distributed memory parallelism. We have talked about Enterprise getting a feature where you can basically do like analysis distributed over multiple machines, or you could run like batch processing jobs. You could be like, here's a Binja script, here's a file share mount with 1 million files, please go give me the results, and let it like distribute the job, kind of like a distributed work processing system. So that's on the roadmap for enterprise at some point. I think we'll probably have some degree of batch processing like that, which will be cool. So yeah, so I think I actually already showed off the Clang type parser, so y'all have a sense of what it was if you saw it before. But if I create a new type, you'll notice we've got this new arguments field, and if it's not set to Clang, if you've got it back on core, it still shows that, but it's not Clang. It's just parser arguments. It just won't really do anything. The core types, I don't think, even pay attention to any of that. Glenn will probably correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, exactly. Like, drop your massive multiprocessing support. So, but if you are on Clang, you'll see that those settings are actually a little bit more useful because we do take these, and there's a number of, in fact, I think I took a screenshot of, yeah, this particular one. This is one that will let you basically parse the entire, and you'll notice this path, I was on my other machine, but I was actually on a Mac where I had downloaded all the Windows headers, the Windows build info, and I could give that to Clang on the Mac, give it some Windows structure, and it would parse the whole thing and actually create all the appropriate types for me. So that's a really good stress test of the type parser. There's still a couple things that I know he's working on, but huge number of fixes. So a lot of little like nitpicky problems people have had over the years, like, oh, you had to like, when you created a struct before, you couldn't have the name at the end. There's a lot of little features that just the way our type parser worked, it wasn't quite as flexible. and every time we had to make a change, it was just more of a headache for us. And so we kind of knew that like eventually we want to switch to Clang, and so that is now shipping. Although, like I said, it is disabled by default. Ironically, though, if you run the latest dev and you switch over to that, which is only it's only been a couple of days since we released stable, so there's not a whole lot of differences. But one of them is we've now enabled Clang again by default. So Clang is on by default. So if you're on dev, you're already using it. Let us know if you run into any problems, and don't be afraid to try some of the things that you used to be able to try. Like you should be able to put things in the type parser that will be a little bit more forgiving, and you can do things like if defs, and because it's backed by Clang, so that's quite nice. This one is probably the biggest, and by the way, I'm super happy with John helped throw this one on the website. So we now have like a way better before after slider. It's a little thing, but like there's a lot of times where in our like fixes we want to show like the same file and an old version and a new version and kind of go back and forth. And so I can't get enough of that. I'm super happy. It works on mobile even. It's quite nice. So, and more importantly here though, you can see like this is literally explorer.exe. I think I actually opened up, I had pulled it off of like some VM or something and thrown it into Binja using 2.4. Actually, was this 2.4? Oh no, that's wrong. That was 3.0. I need to fix that. Hopefully somebody's listening, or I'll put it in Slack so I don't forget. All right. So this is 3.0, not 2.4, but regardless, you can tell it was completely missing all type information for these imports. So this thread pool, this core time zone, core URL, like these just had no type information, and then beautiful type information. Obviously, we're not looking at the disassembly on it here necessarily, but I think, I don't know if I have an Explorer in this VM, although I probably actually will have, let's see what samples I have. I bet I have some good. I'm sure I got a number of execute. Yeah, there's a bunch of them in here. So if we just open up something in samples that has a hash, it's almost certainly going to be some executable. It's got a database? No. Open a fresh one. This is what I don't know why so the debugger is setting a breakpoint there, which you don't really need. But yeah, I mean, right off the bat, you can already see like this exception handling records here. Let's actually go look at the imports, and we can see, and there's a couple that you like, oh no, like this doesn't have type information. Well, it does. There's no arguments. So that's actually correct. Part of the way you can tell is if you see something like the calling convention called out, or if you see it, like this is unsigned versus signed, like you can tell that it does have type information. There's just no arguments. Although this one looks like it might actually still be missing. So there's still some. Oh, and then the C runtime missing is explicitly known. So all this, yeah, these are all C runtime. And that is one that is on the roadmap still to get fixed. And in fact, I think even in this issue, I think there's a different one. There's another one where Peter broke down, I think, some of the things that were like, there's some kernel types that we still plan to add. So the vast majority, in fact, I think we even listed here, this was, 58,000 functions and 26,000 types got added. So it actually increased the size of the install a noticeable amount. It added so many types in type libraries. So if we look in type lib, there is a lot of files. So these are all of the libraries you can see now supported. There's like the AR64 version of them. So I think we're actually, oh, Valgrind, that's a good question. If you have old type information, actually we can find out by reopening this file, and we can see, I think I don't know. Was the right file, right? But let me look at the imports. That looks like it doesn't. It looks like you might need to, I don't know if there's a process for manually, so this is all runtime, but like That's just not even what it looked like. Is this the right address? Here, hold on. So let's open it fresh. And let's not open the database. And let's go to the same address. Oh, that was the wrong spot. Okay, hold on. All right, this is where we would look. Let's take some of these. Okay, here we go. So the question is, do we see types that are... Yeah. No, like for example, this kernel set on here exception filter, that was missing before. Yeah, and it does not get added. You'll see it's there. So that's a good question. I'll make a note of that. Like, yeah, it's a great question. So I do know some of the types like are when you have a new version of Binja will trigger auto analysis in a way that will happen, but I don't know how to explicitly apply new type library information. So that's a good question. I would also like to know the answer to that. But yeah, in general, significantly improved Windows type libraries. That is awesome. And then the native debugger, I think, again, I've shown this off on stream, but it has kind of continued to improve. And actually, I really need like a bigger resolution. So I need to switch over to like a 4K resolution to show this one off, because you can tell there's a lot of like new UI elements. There's a lot of, it really helps to have like a big, kind of a big area for the view. So this, I really like this image that Shusheng made, showing kind of some of the changes where there's like the status of the debugger down here, this sidebar that's actually got like the controls, the threads, the I don't know what this one is, location and remote address. Is that for remote debugging? I think that's the stack there. You've got controls in the context menu, and then you got the stack trace, and yeah, the console down at the bottom. There's also the other one. Stack trace, debugger console. That's target terminal. Oh, he has log over here. That's right. He split log up separately, so that's all it is. It just looks like this, right? So you just had it here. My window manager gets a little weird, but anyway, so you've got your 3 debugger ones here. Kind of fiddle with the layouts somewhat. But yeah, and the debugger has been a massive amount of effort. So Shusheng has been working really hard for, I think, over a year now. It's been a while. It's been quite a while. He's been working on that. So it's nice to finally get that out there. It's already got a lot of things better than the old Python debugger, and performance is better, and some features that it doesn't have. But more importantly, it's where we feel confident kind of going forward. The Python one, we kind of felt like we knew we were going to have to rewrite once we kept running into performance problems, and we just were sort of like dreading making changes to it, because like you don't want to put a lot of time into something that you've realized isn't going to be a good long-term solution. So now we feel like we can really invest the effort into really polishing this and kind of improving it. But like even like these icons right here, I'm still like those need to be themed a little better, and we're looking at some newer icons, and so there's some stuff there. We've talked about the new login system. If folks use the enterprise API, or enterprise version of the product, there's the new API for it, which is super nice, because that allows you to directly like do things like headless check out a license, do some batch processing, automatically upload a file, and even combining that with stuff like webhooks, for example. So you can have like an internal like chat server that like gets notifications like, oh, a file got uploaded and triaged and analyzed, and click here, and it takes you right to the binary that's already analyzed. So there's some like really cool possibilities with that, which is neat. And then like the usual, like there's just a bunch of tons and tons of other stuff. I'm gonna highlight a couple that I am particularly fond of. So I like this one a lot, because this was close down these. This is a little bit subtle. You might not notice much of a difference, but down here, this little menu that I'll make sure I'm obscured, that often gets kind of ignored, now has this display format. So this is quite nice that we had a request. Somebody's like, oh, I really want to see this section off to the side here when I'm clicking around. And we thought about it and debated it, and we do have like a lot of horizontal real estate generally, so that's not a terrible idea. But once you start like splitting panes, suddenly you don't. Or if you want to show feature map, like that takes a little bit more horizontal space. And so now you can you can quickly kind of run out of space where you actually are losing lines that you can't see everything. So rather than put it here, we stuck it down here. So you still have the ability to quickly get the context, figure out what what segment or section or segment you're actually in, and you can choose that right here, which is or even just function plus offset. And then of course too, you can copy any of these as well. And I think that's a snippet. So are these in the action system? Let's see. Copy section offset. Copy section offset. Ooh, we still need to do that. So let me make a note. Oops, about to highlight the wrong person. Add actions for copy section offset, etc. to an app, to hotkeys or use of action. Command palette. Someone's making dinner. It smells good. Okay. So I like that one. That's another one that made it in. Yeah, a bunch related to types. Panes can be dragged into new windows. Yeah, this actually is kind of nice if you've got like a bunch of split panes and you want to switch to a new like multi-monitor setup, you can just drag it and grab it out, which is nice. So that is a lot of question marks. Why are there so many question marks? Oh, unresolved stack usage is at least one, and then that probably is triggering some other tags. At this location, jumped unhandled. Yeah. Let's see. Resolve stack adjustment. Oh, you get one tag per node. Huh. Oh, I've never seen that. I didn't know you could do multiple tags and get them. That's kind of interesting. So you get like a visual distinction of what which ones are, or how many there are per function. All right. Yeah, this is a piece of like a malware sample here, so probably not the best thing to show off the it was an old CTF challenge, right? It looks a little bit simpler. All right, so what else we got? Lots of UI stuff. Oh, I like this one. I think I showed this one off maybe, but you'll notice actually this is a great example of binary. If I open up that binary, I've never haven't saved anything, it goes to main. It's just a little tiny thing, but we used to just go to the entry point. Actually, $ entry, or that's a start. Now, start takes the beginning, $. There's a way to get to the entry point. I don't remember the exact symbol. Under start is the actual elf symbol here. Or is it always under start? No, that's determined by the elf loader. So I think we name it _start. But it can be different on different binary views. Anyway, so like, yeah, it's fine. You can just double click that. And the interesting thing to note is this doesn't require debug symbols. This is not going to main because name is named main. It's going there because it saw there was an import of libc start main, and it knows the type information for that, which means it knows this first argument is a function named main. It should be named main, and then it will navigate to it based on that. So no debug symbols, but literally just the fact that the only way you would not have this behavior is if this was like statically compiled, and so this libc start main itself wasn't even identified, and you didn't have function fingerprints. So you didn't have like the signature kit for it where it matched the exact byte sequence and was able to say, oh, actually, I know it's this libc start main, therefore this argument is made, and then it would also still go to it. So Fox, yeah, being able to like bin diff two things is a very useful feature. You can use bin diff itself from Google, and you can export some data from Binary Ninja using the bin export plugin, and you can get that kind of bin diffing feature. But it would be nice to just do it first class. We've kind of thought about that for a while. Part of it is we want to do a really good job of it. We kind of want to think about how we do it in a way that's like better than kind of other stuff that exists. There's no point to like just doing the exact same implementation. And there's a couple of solid tools out there, Diaphora and BinDiff both. So we've been kind of thinking about that. It's definitely on our radar, something we want to do. Oh yeah, absolutely, Mr. Glass. It totally is. In fact, if I open up inside of Binary Ninja itself, the libpython plugin, I think it does it here. Let's see. So because we have to because we support loading different Python modules, right? Like I can specify the Python interpreter that I want to run and switch different, like I'm running the default one the business ships with. They're all on different platforms. You know, sometimes we will use a native one, but regardless, I can switch different Python versions here. I didn't actually want to do that. That's good. And if I do that, the next time Binary Ninja launches, at runtime, it needs to load that Python, it needs to initialize it, and it needs to put it, you know, into the console so I can interact with that kind of Python down here. So that's not, we're not linking against libpython. We're doing it like at runtime. And the only way to do that is on Windows with git-proc-adder, and on, you know, POSIX platforms using something like dlsym to do that as well. So you absolutely can. So if I actually, so this is a Linux machine, so it'll be dlsym. And that, let's see. So here you can see there's a function called core plugin in it that calls dlsym a whole bunch. And where are we? It's all getting optimized away. So it's not showing up in, so let's split and let's switch this one over to low level IL. And let's go back here. Interesting. So I don't know where it's going away. So something is, oh, there we go. Okay, well, medium level IL has it. So high level IL is optimizing it. For some reason, it's getting it. But we can see, for example, this is going to be a pointer to pi is initialized. So if I actually go look and say, what is the prototype for pi is initialized? Well, that's not even a little helpful. Okay, cool. No argument. I kind of want something that actually has more interesting arguments. Hold on. I think I know. Let me find something real quick. The short answer is yes, but I actually kind of want to show this because I think it's a great question. And part of the reason I know to do this here is because this is actually an exercise we teach in our training class. We actually do something very much like this. So get attr string actually is a better one. So we can see pi is initialized. Okay, get attr string. This particular prototype looks like, oops, let's do it over here. Actually, we can just, well, in this case, we can see we're actually going to be loading, we call it a dlsym for get attr string here. So, right, like this global data pointer here, we can actually set the type here to be void star pi object get attr string void star o const star attr name. Right, so I can set the type on that just like that pointer, and now when I see a call through that, if I did that right, let me see here. Let me try again. It should. I think I need to. I think I actually need to make that pointer to that function. I think I did that type wrong, maybe. But anyway, the short answer is yes. You can totally do that. And so by applying it here, you'll actually get named arguments if you do it right, which clearly I did not. I think I'm missing. Yeah, I think that's probably what I need. I'm bad at programming. That's why I get to do the streams instead of doing real work like everybody back there. Is it going to be? Like there? There we go. That's it. Thank you, Robert. Exactly. And now look at that. So now we can actually see we're calling getter string with these arguments, and it looks right? It looks like we've got the output, and the name itself we're trying to get is path. So we can now find all the cross references to that API call. So, yep. Cool. All right. What else do we got in the? I think that was most of the stuff I wanted to cover here. Like there's just tons of little stuff. Oh, another big one too was saved layouts. Unfortunately for the 3.0, the save layout was broken. The menu was still there, it just didn't work when we did the whole UI refactor. And so that thankfully got fixed. So you can save a layout, and even better, you can save a default layout, which is quite nice because that actually didn't. I don't think that was there before. So you can change the default layout. Before, what you would do is you would set these preferences like prefer graph on startup or prefer which mode do you want, like all these different settings. All those settings I think are just going to go away at this point, because if you want it to look a certain way at startup, then you just adjust your layout the way that you want it and decide which things you want in view. I want, maybe low. Let's do low, and then let's do high, and let's turn off the feature map, and then, okay, cool. So now we're going to save default layout. And now if I restart Binary Ninja and close all this stuff without saving, and I load up one of these plugins, and going to get the same kind of layout that I had before. Ta-da! We got low level, we got high level, we get the same layout, everything kind of the way it was. So that's quite nice. It kind of bugged me that was regression basically before. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of other ones. Enterprise saw a bunch of stuff too. All the architecture is always, there's always tons of stuff to be able to cover. But I think that's the main stuff I kind of wanted to do. I'm curious if anybody else has any questions, either from 3.1 or just general other Binja questions, because I'll probably make this a short stream today. I'm heading on vacation with the family tomorrow, so I have to finish packing tonight. Get everything kind of all ready to go. So we'll probably make it a little bit shorter. But yeah, so let me know if you all got any questions. What else? What else is there? I'm trying to think of other good ones to highlight. And if you have a favorite feature in 3.1 that I didn't give a shout out to, let me know. I should have offered that up to the rest of the team, but I don't know if any of them are. Sometimes they'll tune in for the back of the office, but nice. Yes, there it is, Valgrind. That's awesome. Yeah, so from 7 hours down to less than 30 minutes. That's fantastic. Yeah, and so you're getting not only the benefit of multi-threading, but also the performance boost on top of it. So that's a huge difference. Yeah, like we were always really torn, but happy to make life better for everybody on a personal license. That's cool. That's that is, I'm not surprised that would be a lot of people's favorite feature. I know a number of folks, or even just folks who are just super annoyed as a sort of philosophy thing that would happen, but that's cool. Yeah, I think we're finally, like, we knew we had architecturally a really good design for lots of performance. We just hadn't put the effort into really focusing on things that we could improve. Like, there was a lot of improvements that we could make, without kind of getting too crazy, just by really being careful and going and reviewing and, profiling and analyzing and figuring out where the hotspots were and just doing all the kind of standard, performance improvements. We got a lot of mileage, but that's great numbers. Yeah, that's even better, I think, than any of the stuff that we advertised. Because if you do a before and after on personal in particular, with like a machine with a lot of cores, you can definitely see significant improvements. And the other more important thing too is, even when you save a BNDB and then reload it later, you used to have to spend way more time reanalyzing, and so there's like incremental snapshots. Saving is faster because you're not saving the whole thing again. You only can save the things that have changed. So a bunch of stuff really got better there. So it's definitely why we're calling it the performance API. So cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna go order some dinner. Oh wait. Debugger features? No, that's a good question, John. So Jonathan, we haven't made like a debugger's features overview, partly because we're still tweaking the UI. Let's see if I have like a good binary that's this probably isn't malware. It's called test, right? All right, good. So like if I part of why we haven't like that icon needs to be vectorized better. There's like a little bug icon. It's kind of hard to see. These like there's a lot of little UI tweaks. We've really been focusing for a while now on the like the functionality of the debugger and less on the UI. But if you know anything about like Vector 35, like we actually care a lot about kind of like design and UI and usability. And so like this is a, technical functioning prototype, and we're definitely, it's definitely workable. You've got, oh yeah, that's actually one of the biggest things. You've actually got this console interface too. So before, people were always asking about like, I want to do a GDB command, and you don't actually get that when you have a GDB server. There is the GDB client actually has the ability to parse and do things with GDB commands. But now that we've kind of changed how it's working, and the newer native debugger can use LLDB as a backend, and you can just type whatever, LLDB commands that you want right there in the console as well, even though it's being driven here in the UI, which is cool. And it can, yeah, the debugger can already augment the database a little bit. I haven't actually tested which features have carried over between the old one and the new one. So I don't know. I can't guarantee for certain they've all transitioned, but like the old version would, if you were at a jump table and you stepped into a piece of code that wasn't in the original binaries analysis, it would actually add that and be like, oh, there's a function here, or there's code here, there's a basic block here, because I stepped into it, I know it. You can even turn on some things that would automatically annotate every time I stepped into a function the state of all the registers, as like kind of like a poor man's tracer, to just save all that in as a comment in the database. And there was a couple more. I would say, indirect control flow, right? If you had like a call, so not just like a switch statement, but also calls to like a virtual function call, and it created some new function. It would actually create a whole new function and kick off analysis and do that there too. So it had some of that stuff. I think we're just scratching the surface though. I think there's definitely going to be more interesting things we want to do going forward. So this is going to be a long journey. We're going to spend years, I think, really kind of figuring out the best ways we can integrate, static and dynamic. But yeah, that's a great suggestion, though, Jonathan. We are trying to do better about doing little video snippets. In fact, one of the things that even with this stream that I want to do is edit down a 3.1 highlight reel and just show little things, much like the blog, except for people who don't want to like scroll through and read, but just like hey, performance got faster. Here's some like improvements. Oh, look, now you can do this. Just like 10, 30 seconds to each of those, and we can put together a little video as like a summary, because I love y'all, but not everybody wants to hang out for an hour or two on a Friday evening and watch the stream. So you may have noticed I actually put out just like a little rant, as I've done many times, about function size as a thing. Where'd it go? Function size rant, right? So we put up this little video. We're gonna get Fox. We're gonna get somebody else with me. I don't like just reversing by myself, trying to talk and also reverse. It takes too much for me to like talk about something and then do it. And so it's either gonna be me being quiet and then just not entertaining and boring because I'm trying to figure stuff out. Like, I'm no Falk. I can't do hard tasks and maintain. Gamozo can do that. Some other people can do that, but that's I can only do things that are easier for me, like cover features that I already know about a little bit or figure stuff out. But the more concentration it takes, the harder it is for me to do it. So yeah, so this little video came out, and I think a lot of people appreciate it. You can tell just even from the viewer counts, a lot of people appreciate a little short video. So we'll try to, yeah, exactly. Only some people can pull that off. I'm trying to get better at it and practice it. I probably should just keep doing it, but in the interest of not making you all suffer through my learning experience, exactly. I'm only the non-commercial edition, so what can I say now? But awesome. Well, thanks again for joining me on stream, everybody. I really appreciate it. It was good to be back. Like I said, I'm on vacation next week, but hopefully we'll get back into the regular schedule. And we've got lots of new stuff coming, so we'll keep this up, and we'll catch y'all there. If you got any other questions, chat them out, and we'll catch you in chat. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. So later.